We're here to talk about Disney's Haunted Mansion. All right, let's just get this over with.
Do you want? Should we mention? We're doing another.
I hate this movie.
Right off the bat. Let's just get that out of the way.
What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, later on we'll be doing Ghosted also, but it's not as exciting of a double feature as Barbenheimer.
Yeah. This movie sucked. Haunted Mansion. This is one of the worst movies I've seen all year. I hate this movie. It was garbage. It was boring. It wasn't. It's a movie made to appeal to absolutely no one. It cost $150 million, and it was a big bomb, and it deserves to be because it was a movie made for absolutely no one. It's too scary for young children, and anyone older than the age of like 10 is gonna want to see Barbie instead. And adults would find this boring. So it's appealing to absolutely no one except like fans of the ride. And it's just like one of the worst movies I've had to sit through in a long time. Probably since Cocaine Bear. This movie sucks and I hate it. So what do you have to add?
What could I add? Do you even mean that? I guess.
Oh yeah, I'm kidding. It was okay. No, it was awful.
Yeah,
it was so awful.
I agree it's bad. I don't know. I'm not doubting you. I don't know if it's officially considered a bomb yet. It might end up being when the smoke clears because it's not doing that well.
The second I saw the trailer, I'm like, that's gonna be a bomb.
Yeah, it came out in the middle of July, and
yeah, when it has so much competition, the budget's so high. I think it made like $40 million so far, or maybe less, or some shit like that.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
It was a ghost town in the theaters these past couple of weekends. Actually, when I saw it, the theater was like kind of crowded, but that was like the Friday it came out. There was a little kid sitting next to me. He was bored to shit. He was so bored, and he just probably saw it because his mom wanted to see it, and that the movie was just awful.
Yeah,
sorry. This movie was so fucking boring.
It is tedious. Maybe just for like context. I think, like you said, it might have its fans, but like it doesn't seem to appeal to many people. Because I think like the horror comedy genre, like specifically geared to like younger people, like like little kids or teenagers. Like that's I think a pretty big demographic. Like when I was a kid, I loved Jaws and. Not necessarily like just comedies, but something like scarier movies for kids, Gremlins, or even something like Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, Nightmare Before Christmas. There is like a big audience for like movies like this, but like you said, Haunted Mansion. It just I don't really understand like why it would interest kids. It's too long. Yeah.
Yeah, there's only one kid character, and he sucks.
I didn't think the kid, like the actor, was bad. It's just, a funny thing is, the kids, he says he's such an outcast at school. We never see him at school, so we don't have much background.
You have like no context for that. Yeah, that's
Except
true. That's a good point you brought up.
One day you see him getting chased by kids, running up to the Haunted Mansion, but that's all we get. We don't see him interacting. It's just like it's like a B-roll shot of.
Yeah. You get to see him and Lakeith Stanfield play with action figures, like they aren't like Captain America toys or whatever. There's just like these random it's Wonder Man and Supergirl. Well, Supergirl's actually a superhero.
Like the movie
Superboy. Yeah, but they could have had him play with a Captain America toy since Disney does own that. But I guess that would have been too distracting.
They should start the HMCU. Sorry,
HMCU.
Yeah.
HMCU. The movie's based on a ride, The Haunted Mansion, which is a ride in Disneyland, in Disney World, that was made like 100 years ago when Walt Disney was still alive, before they put his head in a jar. And it's like, why are you making a movie out of this ride? And, the thing is, like, you could say, like, oh, it's based on a ride, it's gonna suck, right? But Pirates of the Caribbean is good,
Yeah.
and you can make a good movie out of any concept, really. And I could see, like, yeah, you can make this into like a good horror comedy. Guillermo del Toro was actually planning on directing a Haunted Mansion movie. Ryan Gosling was gonna star in it, but that kind of fell apart at some point, and that would have been more interesting than what we got here, which is like a really bland comedy.
It is very
like,
bland. I think it's a good way to put it. Like the jokes don't really land.
Not a single joke lands. The only part that was funny is when Lakeith Stanfield goes into the backstory of how his wife died going to get tater tots, and they mention Baskin Robbins product placement in the middle of his tragic.
There is a lot of product placement.
Oh yeah.
That is a sort of bizarre backstory.
Yeah. What's her name? The black lady.
Tiffany Haddish.
She mentions, like, I got the notepad at CVS.
Yeah,
like,
there was
why?
another reference to Costco. There's a scene where they're eating Burger King in the car. It's complete fucking filler. Like the scene, it should have ended up on the cutting room floor.
The jalapeno poppers. Yeah, it's like, why does this need to be in the movie? This is so pointless. Speaking of black people, the movie has a big cast of African Americans, and that's partly because the director, I guess Justin Simeon or Simon, I don't know how exactly.
I think it's Simeon.
Simeon. It's how it's spelled anyway. He's like he directed the movie Dear White People.
Yeah, which I've never seen.
So it's like, yeah, he's wanted to have like an all black cast for this movie. It's basically all black cast except Owen Wilson and Danny DeVito. And like, oh, good, that's fine, but the movie's bad. And there's too many characters too. I mean, it's just like there's too much going on, and it's so horribly unfunny. It's so painfully unfunny and boring that there's just like no reason to watch this movie. It's just awful. It is just awful. Like, I cannot stress enough how absolutely miserable I was sitting in this theater watching it. And the movie is inexplicably 2 hours long.
Yeah, it's way too long.
Why? Yeah, why the fuck is
There's
this
a lot of
hard?
padding.
There's this scene like, oh, let's go into the freaking police station and have the guy draw a sketch of the Hatbox Ghost played by Jared Leto. And it's like, Morbius. He looks like Morbius in this movie, and it's just like the scene is total filler. It could be cut out of the movie completely.
That was sticking out of a top hat.
Top hat.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Nice.
a top hat.
You would pull a rabbit out of it, probably.
Eyes.
They were a bit sunken.
Deep sunken eyes.
Like a raccoon.
Beady
They
eyes.
set back.
Also, my brother, I think he liked the movie more than me because he is a Haunted Mansion fan. But they were like, he was telling me all this shit before the movie, how Jared Leto like completely transformed himself for this role as the Hatbox Ghost. He put on all this makeup, and then you watch the movie and it's like so layered over with CGI, you like can't even tell that it's even supposed to be Jared Leto or that they even put any makeup on him at all. So it's like, why'd they even get Jared Leto to be in the movie if it's just gonna be like a CGI character, basically? Because I didn't see any of the makeup or any of that shit. It was so bad.
Yeah, it's like, why, like, I mean, like, yeah, if I didn't know he was in it, I probably wouldn't have even realized it was him. Not even, like, in a good way, like, oh, like, he transformed himself. It's just, like, some boring villain.
Yeah, he's a real method actor, Jared Leto.
Right, he died for the movie so he could be a ghost behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. I wish he was.
Tough crowd.
For this movie, yeah. I mean, I was just bored to tears. Another missed opportunity was, I told you, I like when like movies have opening logos that kind of like transition into the movie. Like you have some kind of like musical score underlying, like in the opening title, like the opening logos for the movie, and then it like transitions into the opening title or like the first scene of the movie. And I was thinking like, oh, for this Haunted Mansion movie, you can show like the Disney logo and they can like redesign it to make it like kind of creepy looking, like had some lightning or something in the background, right? And then you can play the Haunted Mansion, the organ that's like played on the ride, like the dun, 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 dun.
That would have been cool. Yeah, they didn't do it at all. It seems like
no,
a
it's
missed
just
opportunity.
a complete missed opportunity. It's just the standard Disney logo with the standard Disney music that they play like in front of every movie now. It's probably in front of the freaking Little Mermaid or whatever. I haven't seen it, but
Oh, I don't even remember.
yeah, but it's just like
yeah, I think
it's
it
like
was.
why didn't you guys do that? Like why not set the tone for the movie like with the opening titles? But it's just the movie just starts and it's like awful like immediately.
Yeah, because I agree. Cause that could be a fun thing if you think, even the Simpsons movie. It's the 20th Century Fox logo and Ralph Wiggum's like da, 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 da. It gets you in the right mindset. Like, oh, you're excited for them. This isn't your typical movie, and yeah, I enjoy the ride too. Don't get me wrong, but that's not enough to sustain my interest in a 2-hour, not very good movie.
I enjoyed the ride too, but again, the appeal of the ride is that it was made in like 1942 or whatever the fuck. Like it was made like
I don't know if it was that long ago, but a little,
no, probably
decades.
not. But yeah, it's like 1950s or 60s, something like that. Like
yeah, maybe like 60s.
it's like an old corny ride with like old animatronic, but it's like charming. It's like
corny
a charming
in a fun
little
way.
yeah, like a time capsule. And then, like, you just, like, modernize it with all the CGI effects and these bad jokes that you'd see in, like, a modern-day comedy. It's a very blue movie.
All the ghosts are blue for some reason.
It's like they just put a blue filter over the movie. Again, it's like Morbius in that way. It's just, like, it's not even, like, blue set designer. It's just, like, they put, like, a blue filter on the lens, and everything's blue. And, yeah, it's just, like, the charm of the ride is, like, not in this movie, like, at all. It's all... We use this term a lot, member berries. It's like if you've seen the ride, like, oh look, it's the lady in the attic with the hatchet who killed all her husbands. Oh look, it's the Hatbox Ghost. Oh look, it's the graveyard. Oh look, it's the guy in front of the graveyard with his dog, going, oh my god. Oh, and oh look, it's the guys who are in the picture and they come out and they shoot each other with muskets, and it's just like that the whole movie. Like, there's, like, literally nothing going on for, like, most of it. It's just, like, an awful story with these, like, plugged-in member berries to fucking the Haunted Mansion ride, which no one gives a shit about under the age of, like, 15 years old, which is why this movie is, like,
I don't know
so
about
bad.
that. You've heard of Disney adults.
Yeah, there's Disney adults. That's who this movie's made for. It's made for Disney adults, because there's no way any kid would be interested in any of the crap happening in this movie. It is so boring.
And it's rated PG-13 too, so that probably doesn't help.
There's jump scares in it. There's jump scares in the movie. It's too scary for like little kids, this movie. And anyone over the age of 13 is not going to be interested in any of this garbage. And it's going to be like it's they're just going to go see Barbie.
Yeah, Oppenheimer, Mission Impossible. Yeah, there are a lot of better options.
Mommy, can we go see Oppenheimer? Mommy, can we go see Talk to Me?
Right, yeah. Yeah, there are better options to see movies with boobs, movies that are actually scary, movies that are funnier. Yeah. And also, just because you mentioned Pirates of the Caribbean before, like particularly the first one, I like the fact that, those movies, they don't necessarily feel tethered to the ride. I mean, like they have like little cute references, like the part with the prisoners are trying to get the dog's attention, for the keys. Like that stuff works fine, but it doesn't feel like, oh, remember this from the ride, remember that from the ride.
Exactly.
It tells a good story.
It had compelling characters, like the Jack Sparrow character ties the whole movie together, And this is just like, it's just plugging a bunch of actors. Jamie Lee Curtis is in the movie.
Danny DeVito.
He doesn't do it. Yeah, it's just let's have Danny DeVito in the movie and not have him do anything funny. You mentioned this. Yeah, sorry. You mentioned this scene where they steal his fucking documents from the bar, and it's like, what are we supposed to like these people? Like, what is going on in this scene?
It's very off. Yeah, especially if he's just gonna be coming to the house anyway, and. Also, like, with regards to being too scary, there's a part where his character gets possessed and there's blood coming out of his nose. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Seems like a strange choice.
an unbelievably bad movie. Like, I cannot stress enough how much I was I just like, because I saw this movie with my family, and they were all like, yeah, that was cute, that was fun. I'm like, no, like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is fun. Like, this
Yeah,
is
much
shit.
better for everybody. Yeah.
Like, there's no way like any kid would enjoy this movie.
I guess it's possible. I mean, to be, I mean, you and I enjoyed bad movies when we were, not that we had bad taste, but sometimes there'd be movies like that. I'm wondering, not that it's an excuse, because obviously I didn't like the movie either. I'm wondering like how, because I don't remember the Eddie Murphy one super well. I mean, we could probably bring up that one. As a kid, I liked it. At least that one, from what I recall, I feel like that could appeal a little more to kids, just because there's a lot of like more like silly humor, like the part with like the bus were singing and
Yeah,
stuff
was that in this movie, the busts? I know there was the graveyard.
I don't think so.
I guess because it was such a big part of that movie, they chose to like omit it from this one. But like literally everything else in the ride is like in this movie, like almost everything else.
Yeah, and there's a gypsy character in the earlier movie. It was Jennifer Tilly, and this one it's Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. My
But,
dad's
yeah.
like, oh, they should add Jared Leto into the ride. No, don't do
Why?
that.
Why? So he can mate young women.
Man, fuck this movie. Oh, fuck
And
Disney.
I can
wake up.
wake up.
Wake up and smell the roses. No one wants to watch this shit.
He was smiling like, yeah, like that. This kind of thing. Exactly.
Is this the man who mugged you?
Wow. You just did that just now?
The writer Katie Dippold, I know she wrote for Parks and Rec, which is obviously a terrific, funny show. So maybe she'll write better stuff, better movies coming up. Because this one wasn't very. And it's just like it's just very. I found it pretty dour. I guess it's meant to be about because Lakeith Stanfield's character, his wife dies, and he's very.
Who you don't know at all. You like never get to know this woman. Yeah, she's in like.
You
a
see
minute
her,
of the
but
movie. Yeah.
she's not very well developed. I'm not saying it's like fault of the actors necessarily. It's just not a lot of screen time devoted to it. And then, I don't think Rosario Dawson's used particularly well either. And it's just like the rules are a little nebulous, because what I remember from the Eddie Murphy one is like they're just trying to get out, basically, whatever, like. The wife character like resembles like a ghost or like a someone who died before, but in this one, like the newer one, they can leave the haunted mansion, but then they just get harassed by ghosts if they do.
The ghosts follow them home, which is another part of the ride. The ghosts will follow you home. Yeah.
What are the ghosts? Are the ghosts gonna kill the people if they don't go back, or they just kind of
haunt you?
They just haunt you around. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's and like until you like stop Jared Leto from doing some ritual or something, and then like the kid's father is like hinted. They hint that the kid's father is not around. I guess you think the kid's father left or something, but then at the end of the movie they reveal that the kid's father's actually dead, and like I saw that coming a mile away, and then like it's all this like Jared Leto tries to lure the kid in to some like. I don't know, to the afterlife or something to take his soul. It's so stupid. It's so fucking pointless. And it's like, just write in a story. Like, just write something. Like, it doesn't... Right, that's what the producers did. Like, you mentioned the writer. I bet she wrote a script and then, like, Disney completely mangled it. Like, can you throw in a reference to the Hatbox Ghost? And can you throw in Madame Leota? And like just throw in a bunch of crap. Like this movie has way too many characters. Like Winona Ryder's in the movie. Like I just remembered that now.
Yeah, and Dan Levy. I think he has like maybe one or two lines.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny because that happens. Whatever. Lakeith Stanfield. So they like visit another haunted mansion. And yeah, they just kind of come and go. It seems like the whole movie they're like leaving, driving, coming back, and
Yeah.
It was there was one shot like Owen Wilson's character was supposed to be talking, but clearly his lips weren't moving.
Yeah.
If you had just cut out that scene, it wouldn't have been an issue anyway.
Was that the scene where they got Burger King in the car?
I think it was. It wasn't that shot, but I think it was like when they were coming back to the house.
Yeah. Owen Wilson's character is he's a priest, but he's faking it. But then at the end, he like really believes in ghosts or something. It's like it was such an unsatisfying arc for that character. That was terrible.
That's very odd. Yeah, he's basically a fucking lunatic.
Every character's a lunatic.
Since you mentioned Owen Wilson, it's worth noting he did that Paint movie, which I haven't seen yet. He's not. Obviously, he's a regular Wes Anderson collaborator. He wasn't in Asteroid City. I'm wondering maybe he was busy with this movie because
Yeah.
that would have been the better option, I think.
He was busy being in this classic, this gem, Haunted Mansion, based on the ride from 1927. Yeah, what an awful... You mentioned the joke where, like, there's something behind the painting, like some kind of, like, ritual room, and it's like Owen Wilson goes to reach for the lamp. It's like, and then he pulls the lamp and it, like, breaks. That joke, you see it coming from a mile away.
Right, as in, like, he thinks, like, pulling that would open the door.
Yeah, he thinks it's like a
right.
lever. Yeah, but it just breaks the lamp. Like, yep, saw that joke coming before it even happened. That's how you know it's a great joke, when you can see it coming a mile away.
Yeah, you can do that, but that's before. Yeah, I think something like the Simpsons is always great. Like, they have jokes, like, you think you know the punchline, but then it goes, like, the opposite way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Good job, Disney. I'll literally never forgive Disney for this movie. I was so bored. I don't even care about Haunted Mansion. I told you when I watched it, I hated it, and you're like, oh, well, I need to watch it for the review. And I honestly didn't want you to watch it because I didn't want you to suffer through it. It was out of concern for your own mental sanity.
Misery loves company, Ralph.
Was the theater crowded when you saw it?
It wasn't crowded. There were a few people. It certainly wasn't empty. But I mean, it was a Sunday. Long term, it just I don't know how well it's gonna do.
Yeah.
A lot of people. Off. Yeah. I think it already has because this is like the third weekend it's out now, and people point out like, why didn't it come out in October? Like, that would make much more sense. Yeah. At least like you can lean into the fact that people are like, I want to see like something spooky. It's that time of year, but like July, like who gives a shit?
Right. Even though it isn't spooky.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, people, want to see like I'm like that too. Like, oh, I'll see like a new horror movie or whatever. If they're in that, mindset. But that doesn't apply to the summer really.
Mm-hmm. Again, great job, Disney. You're doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. Just keep spending $200 million on movies that suck and have no audience. And just throwing a bunch of actors who do nothing. I mean, what else is there to say? This movie, what is there to say? What is there to dissect here?
Lakeith Stanfield runs a tour group. I can't remember what it was for. It was
ghost hunting group, and they could have done something like with that, or like the tour group. Like they come into the mansion, and they're like, "Ooh, take it," and then there's like actually ghosts there, and they all get scared out or something. But no, they do nothing with that. It's just like a dumb scene in the beginning. The fucking thing with the tater tots. His wife going to get tater tots, and then she got hit by a car. That is just like the funniest shit. Like that was the only part of the movie I was laughing. And then what is the thing they say the whole movie where they call it something? There's like a term for it where like a ghost gives you a sign from the afterlife. Like it's like a ghost whisper, like something. And then at the end of the movie, like there's a cat on his front stoop, and it says the cat's name, the little tag. It says Tater Tot, and it's like Lakeith Stanfield looks up. Oh my god!
The cat killed his wife.
It's the corniest shit I've ever seen. It was so funny.
Didn't you say that was supposed to be the original ending? That his character would be
the original
dead?
Ending was supposed to be. They changed it to make it a little more lighthearted, and they just didn't want like. But the original, because like Jared Leto is offering him to come to the afterlife so he can see his wife, right? So the original ending was he teams up with Jared Leto, who plays the Hackbox Ghost, or he like gives in to him in like the graveyard, and then Lakeith Stanfield dies and goes to the afterlife with his wife, I guess, or something like that. But they changed the ending to make Lakeith Stanfield go like, "No, I'm not going with you. I have this kid back home who's an honor roll student or whatever, and he plays with my action figures with me." So Lakeith Stanfield stays behind, and instead there's the thing where he meets the cat named Tater Tot. And that's like the ending.
Well, I think the ending was that happens, and then they go, like, all the main characters go to the party at the Haunted Mansion. That's such a movie thing. I noticed it's like all the characters, like, they all just hang out with each other by the, like, what, do they not have other friends? It's like, yeah. Look at this lineup. Yeah, like, they're all buddy, but they only, like, came together, like, through circumstance, but they're very close now.
They had no life outside of this movie. Like, before the movie started, they just did not exist. And that's the sign of great writing. They have no friends, no family, no one else to, like, in their lives to even invite to the party or whatever. Yep. Wow. Great movie.
That's how I feel after watching this movie. I have no friends, no family. It's hopeless.
Me too. Yep. You'll have no friends if you take them to see this shit.
Well, we have each other, Ralph. At least we can bond.
Yeah, that's why I don't want you to watch it. I'm like, Cam's going to watch this and be like, "Ralph, I'm not going to do this podcast with you anymore. You're not my friend. You made me watch Haunted Mansion."
I'm blocking you.
Yeah, you made me go to the theater and watch this movie. So yeah, great movie. 5 stars out of 5. No, it's a 1.5 star.
Out of like a 3 out of 10.
Yeah,
that's probably
the half star is for like, it's a good cast. They're just wasted horribly. Except Jared Leto, he sucks. But everyone else,
he can be good.
It's like,
he's
sure,
kind of a parody of himself at times.
Yeah, right. Yeah. After Morbius, I just can't forgive him. But like Lakeith Stanfield, Rosario Dawson, I like all these people. They're just in a bad movie. Yeah, Owen Wilson. They're just in a bad movie. Danny DeVito's funny.
Tiffany
I love
Haddish,
him. I love him in It's Always Sunny.
He should have been more like Frank Reynolds. Like, we should open up this place to the public and sell tickets. They love this morbid shit.
AIDS, I have AIDS. Here are my monster condoms for my Magnum dong.
Oh, don't make a scene. That's quoting It's Always Sunny.
We don't diddle kids. I'm not diddling. Older than my wife, older than my daughter.
That's kind of like him in this movie, because in that episode, like, his nose was bleeding. That's like in the movie. I didn't know realize it.
I love it. Suspicious? I love it. It's Always Sunny too. He's like held together with like fucking duct tape and like napkins. Like, can't even go to the hospital.
Yeah, he's got tons of money.
It's like Scotch tape. So yeah, Haunted Mansion. It's so good. We're talking about other things.
You think it might be Disney's worst of the year, because last year they had Robert Zemeckis' Pinocchio movie.
Yeah, that Pinocchio movie's probably worse, but this is worse than like a lot of Disney's movies this year and last year. Like, it's worse than Lightyear. It's worse than what else did they have this year?
Elemental. That one was okay.
That one was all right. Yeah, Elemental's better than Lightyear. Yeah, it's the worst Disney movie of this year, counting like the Marvel stuff. Like Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania is better than this freaking movie.
Yeah, probably. That movie sucks.
Yeah. Okay. Haunted Mansion. Good job, Disney. Again.
You scared us off.
Yeah. Awesome job. You're doing fucking great. Stop. Just stop. Stop making movies. Just, I don't know, do something else. This is not working. This isn't working. Now we're moving on to Ghosted, which is not about ghosts.
Right. They sound more similar than they actually are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like one of my criticisms with the movie, because like it's called Ghosted, but they don't really like embrace the like. I don't know why it's called Ghosted, because she doesn't respond to his texts like 15 minutes into the movie. But that's like one scene, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't tell you anything about the movie.
Yeah. That'd be like if they called like Haunted Mansion, like police station.
Or a pile of shit.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that would be more descriptive. You know, like you want something like Across the Spider-Verse. You know, that's descriptive. Like, oh, you kind of know what you're expecting.
Right. Yeah. Ghosted.
Bobby.
Yeah. And Ghosted like
Bobby.
becomes like the first 20 minutes is like a romantic comedy, then it becomes a spy movie.
Neither
It doesn't set that up. No, it doesn't work as either. But it doesn't set up that it's a spy movie well at all. Like in the first 20 minutes, like you need
Yeah,
like at
that's
least
true.
a little teaser, like establish like what you are, like what's the tone of this movie, and then it just like I don't know, flips at some point. The movie, I mean, I'm analyzing it more than it needs to be analyzed. Honestly, the director of the movie is Dexter Fletcher. Sounds a lot like Dexter Jetster, the Star Wars character, who owns the diner. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to talk about Star Wars.
Dexter Jetster.
He has a mustache. He owns a diner. Dexter Fletcher, for context, he's an actor. He's been an actor. He was in The Long Good Friday, which was really great, like gangster. But, yeah, like when he was a kid. I think he was in The Elephant Man. I don't know if he was like. It's been a while since I've seen it. He might have been like one of the kids who like saw like The Elephant Man and the freak show.
Oh, okay. He's a director. Director of,
he directed
Rocket Man.
And he took over for Bryan Singer because he was off diddling kids or whatever. For Bohemian Rhapsody.
Diddle kids, diddling kids. Hold on my wife, hold on my daughter.
Yeah, I don't think you haven't seen Rocket Man, right? I have. I like that movie.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely more interesting than. Sorry, what?
I was doing some research for like Dexter Jetster or Dexter Fletcher, and he said like he directed Bohemian Rhapsody so he could know what not to do when he directed Rocket Man.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's like good lessons, yeah. So you're right. He did replace Bryan Singer for Bohemian Rhapsody, and then he did Rocket Man and directed Eddie the Eagle also.
Right, which we didn't see. But Rocket Man I enjoyed. I liked it was more interesting than some of the other musical biopics or just because like it had like at least like a plot. It didn't just feel like, you know, like a Wikipedia or like a bullet point summary.
Yeah. It's better than Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a disaster of a film. I gotta cover that one day. Yeah. That one that deserves like a review on my own channel. It's so fucking bad. But yeah, this is, you know, it's Ana de Armas and Chris Evans, co-stars from Knives Out, and
Superior
in this movie.
Yeah.
They have like a romantic thing going on, and then she ghosts him, I guess, and Chris Evans is a farmer.
The farmer's market. He's selling plants. It's really dumb.
Yeah, I guess George Clooney wasn't available to be a farmer. You know, like Chris, like he doesn't look like a farmer. He looks like a fucking actor. You know.
Yeah.
It's like when you cast Dwayne Johnson as like a zoologist or whatever in like Rampage. It's like it's so unbelievable. And like Amy Sedaris is in this, right? He plays his mother, and the mother's like, "You should go see the girl. You should go stalk her down in wherever she is, Europe, and you could go take a plane to go see her."
Cole, you should go over there.
What?
Yeah, show up and surprise her. It would be romantic, Chester. Something we can tell our grandchildren.
Mom, you can't be serious, Cole.
And then Chris Evans is like, "Well, yeah, I have my inhaler, and it has a tracker in the inhaler, and I know she went to Europe, so I'm gonna follow the tracker." And therein lies one of the worst plot points in the movie, where even if you have like a single digit IQ, you would go, "Wait, why is there a tracker device in a inhaler that you can get at Walgreens for $40?"
Yeah, that's true. And I believe Chris Evans' character, he said like he has a tile tracking device, which I have one of those. You know, you can put it with like your car keys. I don't think it works like thousands of miles away. Like that's really sophisticated. It's like, oh, I left it out in the car, not, oh, it's in fucking London.
Yeah, he tracks her down exactly in London somewhere. This movie has a ton of like guest cameos or whatever, like actors you've seen. You might not, they're not like all A-list actors, but you know them, like
very recognizable.
Bern Gorman is like the taxi driver, the English taxi driver who takes him there from the airport. He's like, oh, mate, he's in like The Dark Knight Rises, and
he's in Game of Thrones also. He's one of the Night's Watch guys.
The Night's Watch guys who like kills Castor and like spoiler
alert. 10 years later, he's good. And Tim Blake Nelson, you mentioned, he has like a very like nothing part. He's like barely in it.
He's like some random gangster who like captures Chris Evans, and he's like, are you the tax man? I'm not the tax man. She's the tax man. And Ana de Armas comes in and I'm the tax man. They say tax man more than I breathe.
It's like what's a Justice League with Mother Box?
Yeah,
it's just like one of those
box,
words.
They
keep saying it, and there are a few other. There's this one. Obviously, like some of these like are meant to be cameos, but they're not like very funny ones. Because there's this stupid gag later on where like a bunch of, so obviously Ana de Armas and Chris Evans are on the run because she's a spy and he's like tagging along, I guess, and like a bunch of bounty hunters show up. It's John Cho, Anthony Mackie, and Sebastian Stan, but like they keep like killing each other. It's just not. It's not actually. I could see how that could maybe be funny, but it's not like executed very well. It's very,
not funny at all. The jokes in this movie suck. It's just like Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan. It's just, you just think of like Winter Soldier and the Falcon.
And then Ryan Reynolds pops up at the end. That's not that funny either.
Yeah, Adrian Brody's in the movie as like the villain, another wasted part. Again, like Adrian Brody and Ana de Armas were co-stars in Blonde.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Even Blonde is a better movie than this. You gotta admit that.
Yeah, it's flawed in different ways. This one is not nearly as ambitious. I'll say that. The jokes are very weak. Like there's one because you said how Chris Evans is working at the farmer's market and he's like downtrodden about I can't find a nice woman or whatever. And like the other lady's like, you want to get high? I have edibles. I'm like, is that the fucking joke that she's just offering him weed? Like it just feels like such like a lowest common denominator thing. Like, oh, that's funny. I get hilarious.
High too. They're edibles, yeah. Well, there's the part in the beginning they're like bickering. It's like their first scene together, Chris Evans and Ana de Armas, and then I think it's like Amy Sedaris is like, you two have great chemistry under your bickering.
No, it's like the lady at that works there. Yeah. Sorry.
Some other lady who works at the farmer's market. Yeah, but she was like, oh, you have great chemistry, and it's like.
Begonia, nice choice.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It is pretty.
Yeah. Don't let any pets eat the leaves. They can be slightly toxic.
Pretty and slightly toxic. What is it with me and roommates?
Didn't realize you roomed with all of my exes.
It clearly, like, that was the line in the script, but, like, the actual scene we just saw, they didn't have any chemistry at all. And that's pretty much the whole movie. Like, not only do they not have chemistry, I honestly have a hard time believing they were even, like, on the same set on the same day for certain scenes. Like, the infamous staircase scene, the staircase from The Exorcist, rest in peace, William Friedkin. Like, that scene, it's literally, like, are these two even, like, on the same set? Like, are they, or is this like a body double? Like, yeah, that's like how it feels, honestly. That is like some of the worst acting from like two actors who we know are good.
Yeah,
two actors who have worked together.
Yeah,
we know they've been in scenes together before. We know they're good. So like, what the hell is happening?
Put all that in here.
You gonna carry all my stuff? Okay. Wait.
You looking for pity?
That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Oh, my friend.
You ready? And go!
And what is even the significance of them? I get that, those are the stairs from The Exorcist, but like, why does it matter? Like, they don't make any funny jokes about it. They're just like, oh, you should watch that movie. It's good. You're like, yeah, I'd rather be watching. And fittingly, watching Ghosted makes me want to vomit pea soup across the room.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole movie looked like a cheap TV show from like the early 2000s.
Looks very cheap.
Yeah.
And
doesn't it end in the Eiffel Towers? No, that was Murder Mystery 2. But it ends in something like they both, like Murder Mystery 2 and this movie, they're both awful. They basically end the same way. They're in like, this is like, what is it, like it's like some giant building that's like
a revolving restaurant. And the song that like the soundtrack is like the whole movie's very basic,
awful music choices the whole movie.
Yeah, towards the
that
end,
scene, that scene at the end, it's Uptown.
I like the song, but it just doesn't
fit the movie.
What does that have to do with anything?
Again, they just like the editors just like plop that in, like Uptown Funk, I give it to you. It's just like like what is going on, And Ryan Reynolds shows up in that scene, and I guess he used to have a fling with Ana de Armas. Like this movie is just awful. It's so
it sucks.
It's made for like the least discerning viewer, like someone who just like wants to turn something on, like it's fun. It's just like a movie to
we
turn
have
on.
Apple TV. What do they have on there? Like Ana de Armas.
Yeah, they see like the cover, and it's like Chris Evans and Ana de Armas, and it's like this is like a romantic action movie or something. But it's so all over the place. Like it's just the whole thing. It doesn't feel like a romantic comedy. Well, it feels like a romantic comedy at first, but then it becomes this action movie, and it doesn't. Yeah, it's not good at anything it's trying to do. It's also worth noting our good friend Zane Shaw was in this movie. Is the star of my short film Sauce, which is you should check out Sauce. It's a good movie, and Zane has a short role in this movie, and that was by far the best part of the movie is when I saw Zane. I'm like, oh shit, it's Zane! And then luckily he was in the movie before it got like he's in the movie for like in the first like 10 minutes or so. So it was before the movie got really bad.
It was always bad, but it became more bad, I suppose. Like his appearance woke you up from your coma.
Yeah, it became worse once it became a spy movie or whatever that was. It's violent too. Like I noticed how like people are getting like fucking shot, and like some guy gets like his head snapped or whatever at the end there, like during the revolving scene. Some guy gets like thrown in the gears.
Yeah, I
pretty,
barely
like, fucking
remember. It's so
brutal movie.
Like that movie Spy. Like I thought that was funny. Like that's much better than this. Like the Paul Feig one with Melissa McCarthy. Like this is so like just generic, and even just the way it does like that cliche with and like a lot of bad movies with like the locations when they put the text on the screen like the little like letters like it's just like I've seen this like a fucking 1,000 times. It's like Budapest, London, and
shitty movie.
You think about obviously we just talked about like Oppenheimer and Barbie last week, like how memorable like those like their opening sequences were, and like in this it's just Ghosted, like the title appears within like 15 seconds. Like, okay, like you haven't told me anything. It's just a fucking drone shot. Like what
exactly.
Ana de Armas is driving around. Like, what kind of movie is this gonna be? Like, I don't even know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, what do you rate Ghosted?
I was debating between
it's got some redeeming qualities.
I was gonna
some redeeming aspects.
I thought this was funny on Letterboxd. I'll read a review from McClellan. If Hallmark made Mission Impossible, I think that sums it up. Some people mentioned like it seemed like it was. I think your girlfriend Sandy mentioned like it seems like it was written by like Chat GPT and
it honestly feels like a Chat GPT movie.
There's this like recurring theme of because Ana de Armas comes to Chris Evans at the farmer's market. She buys a cactus. So they keep mentioning it throughout the movie, like, oh, you're like a cactus. That's not good cactus behavior. Like, That's such like a bad like screenplay thing to me. Like you just like keep mentioning the same fucking thing like over and over. Like it's just like a crutch. It's like if it's like that, like memorable a theme, like like respect the audience's intelligence enough so like they can recognize it. You don't have to fucking spell it out for them over and over. So I also give this a 2 out of 10. Stinks.
Yeah. You mentioned it's like a Bullet Train, like how they keep mentioning the Thomas the Tank Engine joke, like over and over and over. I like that movie, but
that movie's not as bad as this, but that got very repetitive. It just feels lazy to me.
Another movie with like a pointless Ryan Reynolds cameo. Oh no, that was Channing Tatum. Or they both have like pointless...
they were both. Yeah, they were both.
Oh yeah, Ryan Reynolds was in it. This is another movie with like pointless. Like that's such a crutch too. It's like it's just throwing a celebrity that like everyone knows, and it's just like, in this case, it's just like Chris Evans' best buds, like Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie. He called them up like, hey, I know we were in Captain America together. You want to be in this movie Ghosted? Apple TV will pay you $10 million to show up for one scene. They're like, sure.
Yeah, it's very we mentioned Knives Out, like Glass Onion, like handled like the cameos better because at least like they were funny, like they're at the pie, like you hear like a piece of music and then like Yo Yo Ma just like pops up to like identify. At least that like it's a little like clever. It's not just like it's blah blah blah, popping up.
Oh, it's blah blah blah.
Right, blah, 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 shouldn't have been in... Come on, Chris Evans, you're representing Massachusetts here. Your brother was in Barbie. That was the better movie. Got to step up your game.
Chris Evans probably got paid more, though.
Yeah, that's true. Hopefully, I'm sure that he can do better stuff. We know. And so can Ana de Armas, as we know. You didn't like The Gray Man either. I didn't see The Gray Man, but you mentioned that. Fighter of the Night.
Yeah, that's another movie. They're in that movie together. Yeah. Yeah, that's another movie they're in together.
Masterpiece.
All right, we'll do questions now, and then we'll move on with our lives.
Forever. It's the last episode of the podcast.
Yeah, goodbye. After Haunted Mansion, I never want to watch a movie again.
And ironically, he like disliked his Ghosted even more, probably.
But at least Ghosted, like it was bad, but I could watch it from the comfort of my home. I actually had to go out and watch Haunted Mansion at a theater, which it made it extra painful.
You're surrounded by others too, so you're publicly shamed for it.
I just wanted to leave the whole time and go see Oppenheimer instead.
Yes, you're better off seeing that like a second or third time, or Bobby, whatever else is out, Mission Impossible.
All right, let me just look up some questions here.
Might take I still got to see the Ninja Turtles. That looks all right.
And Mission Impossible was good. I enjoyed that. That was fun. We can just like recap some other movies we've seen, like Mission Impossible. Like I don't have a lot to say about it, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, great stunts. Yeah. Characters are still fun, and it just has a lot of energy to it, and. Yeah, I'm very. I think you and I are both pretty fond of that, franchise. They always seem to, a lot of passion.
Yeah. And, I didn't like it as much as Fallout. I thought the Henry Cavill character was a good addition. But it was still fun. Yeah, it was still good. Yeah. And like I thought it was very topical too with the AI. Like storyline.
Yeah.
It's like I thought that was cool.
Great stunts. Tom Cruise going off the cliff.
We got like a question on Spotify.
Is it going to be sung to us?
It's just someone said epic. Well, that's
is that
nice.
their name?
No, that's like their comment they left us. Like I thought they left us a question, but it's because it's like on the Q&A section of Spotify. But all they said was epic.
I'll take it. At least it's a compliment.
At least I'm glad you liked it.
It's like epic movie.
Well, no. I hope our podcast is better than that. We could cover those one day if you want to torture yourself. That might actually be our last show. Yeah, because I don't think I could handle that movie.
Meet the Spartans.
Let's do this question from GRK Pectus. When you make jokes on any of your shows, are there any types of jokes you try to avoid? I don't mean offensive jokes. I mean the type of jokes you think are outplayed or corny. Or something like that. Well, Cam isn't afraid of making corny jokes, that's for sure.
No, yeah, I like corny jokes.
Oh, snap.
I try to be creative. I think you can be creative and still be corny. Like, I don't like to use the same jokes that everybody else makes, or like the sayings, because when we graduate college, people everybody's caption besides I was like, I did a thing. I'm like, is that this like the trend?
I feel like, yeah, you could make anything funny. It's a hard question to answer. I feel like you can make any kind of joke work. It's good not to overdo stuff. And I don't know. I've made all kinds of jokes. Usually, like, the jokes that work best are just like if you try a bunch of stuff and just see what works. The stuff that like doesn't work at all, you cut it out. Like, you just cut it out of the review or whatever. Even our podcast, I do that. Like, I say things, I just cut it out. I'm like, nah, that doesn't work. Yeah, tried something, it didn't work. That's the magic of editing or whatever. And but yeah, I don't feel like. Yeah, there's like certain kinds of jokes I don't make. I mean, you can even make like offensive jokes work if you don't like overdo it.
Yeah, since you and I have both written scripts, I find usually like a joke could come up with like midstream, like when you're like in the middle of like writing a draft. That's usually funnier than something like a line you're trying to shoehorn in.
Definitely, yeah, I agree with that.
Because when you think about like that applies to like the movie, like the funniest shows and movies you've seen. Like usually like the best jokes are like character based or just like in the middle of the story. It's just it's not just like some like, not that non sequiturs can't be funny, but like like the context kind of amplifies the humor. It's not just like some random generic joke.
Yeah. So
like that bad joke in Ghosted. Like, you want edibles? Like, okay, that's kind of lame.
That's an answer from the two kings of comedy over here, Larry David and fucking Jerry Seinfeld. We're so funny.
Who's my Larry?
You're the Jason Freeberg to my Aaron Seltzer. That's the guys that did Epic Movie and Tape Movie.
I don't know. We can keep going with this,
Yeah,
but
just find like the least funny people.
Doug and Rob and Doug Walker.
You're the Doug Walker to my Rob Walker. You're the Spoonie to my Linkara.
Right.
That asshole talked about my movie. Consider me
some
totally
more shade.
unsurprised as to who.
Yeah, I don't think the Fourth Wall movie is very funny. Top of the Fourth Wall.
Well, yeah, like, I think you mentioned that before in comedy. Like, you need, like, some substance. Like, those Channel Awesome movies, they're just, like, fucking shtick the whole time. It's, like, fucking characters. Like, there's no fucking, like, depth to anything.
Yeah,
there's no
personality to it.
Yeah.
If you think about something like Clerks, like, obviously that was, low budget. But, like, Kevin Smith had a story to tell. Like, it has a distinctive tone to, funny characters. It's kind of like about how they bullshit, like they feel like kind of whatever, disenfranchised. But yeah, I think as long as you have something like like a legitimate story, you can get a lot of people can admire that and get into it. If it's just all like, it's kind of just soulless, because even like when you think about like the Monty Python movies, like something like Holy Grail, obviously it does have a story, but it's a lot of like different segments. But like they have a very distinctive sense of humor. It's like very smart and silly.
Yeah, you mentioned to me, or like, sorry, you didn't mention it, but like I get comments like on some of my new reviews where I do skits, and they're like, "What are you, like Doug Walker with the skits? Like you're like, but the problem with Doug Walker isn't the skits. It's just that they're not funny and they're so like arbitrary. like my skits don't feel arbitrary. I try to like write something clever in there, like the Jurassic World Dominion review. Like I have a bit about like, you know, like making fun of the locust subplot or whatever. Like
Bad exposition.
I have running storylines, or you know, like the Gotti review. I have like the skits I write aren't. I try not to make them feel so fucking like arbitrary or pointless. I try to like write funny things into them, or like do something fun. Like I enjoy the skits I make. Like I don't know. Like I don't have an issue with skits, and it's just, you know, again, I don't have an issue with any kind of comedy. You just need to make it work and put effort into it, and that's something that Channel Awesome doesn't do.
No, right, yeah, and I agree. I think it, you know, it kind of ties in what you just mentioned. Like it ties in what I said before, like, you know, the writing process. Like you want to do a funny skit because you saw Gotti and it's so ridiculous, and you know, it kind of like gets your gears going.
All right, we answered that question well enough. I think we're good. Leave your questions on the Ralph the Movie Maker podcast Reddit. There's a thread there. You can leave your questions there, or just leave a comment on the YouTube video. I'll probably see it there too. Or leave a Q&A on the Spotify and leave epic. Epic.